What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the CruitCast. Back with my friend Cole Patterson, colleague Cole Patterson. Talk a little bit Longhorn recruiting. Cole, had a lot going on over the holiday weekend. We kind of knew we would. Thought maybe we had one firework go off with the commitment from Sydir Mitchell. We thought maybe they might have another one or two, but let's do some housekeeping before I get into all that. We'll talk about Sydir Mitchell and some other guys. You see our sponsor, boom, 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 up there, Prime Shrimp. Huge shout out to Prime Shrimp. Go check them out, primeshrimp.com, $20 off your first order with that promo code, Orange Bloods. I'll say it again. Can't go wrong. It's a money back guarantee. It's easy. It's delicious. It's simple. It's quick. It's no cleanup. What else can you ask for? Also, hit the like button, subscribe, do all those things if you like these videos that help us with this channel. So, Cole, let's jump into it. Let's start with Sydir Mitchell. Commits to Texas on Sunday night. Today, my days are kind of off just because it's 4th of July being on a Monday, right? Today feels like Monday to me. It's actually Tuesday. But Sydir Mitchell commits to Texas Sunday night. We got tipped off on it on Thursday that it was going to go down. And then I don't know what the hell I was thinking. You and I were like, man, it'd be nice if that thing kind of stayed quiet until Sunday. And a couple hours later, it's all over the place. Hey, I think that Texas is trending, but
you try to hint towards in the war room without giving too much away. And
even by the time we put the war room out, I think word was starting to leak out. We just said, hey, there'll be good news coming later in the weekend. But our friend Adam Friedman from Rivals.com did a great job with that one. He had quotes and everything all ready for it. Made our jobs a lot easier. So shout out to Friedman on that. But big pickup for Texas, man. Bo Davis comes in. And I say big pickup. He's 6'6", 340 defensive tackle. Everybody and their brother thought he was going to Georgia. If not Georgia, maybe Texas A&M. He takes a visit to Texas a few weeks ago. And, I mean, I think to most people's surprise, the Longhorns end up winning out. I called another reporter on, I don't know, it was Thursday or maybe Friday morning. I don't remember. And he's not in the UT universe. He covers another school. And I called him. I said, hey, man, little scoop for you. Sydir's not going where everybody thinks he is. He's going to commit to Texas. This dude was floored. He's like, you're full of shit. He goes, there's no way. It's Georgia or Texas A&M. I said, I'm telling you, it's going to be Texas. So this guy was floored. He's an A&M reporter. And people probably can piece two and two together who my A&M reporter buddy is. But, yeah, man, so big pickup for Texas. Great job by Bo Davis behind the scenes. Big player. Huge defensive lineman that can eat up ground in the middle of your defensive line. Cole, your thoughts on Texas winning the Sydir Mitchell sweepstakes?
Yeah, like you said, 6'6", 330. He's kind of the size that Kyle Flood would want on the offensive line. Yeah. But he's a huge dude, and it's pretty obvious on film what he can do. You know, he's really good against the run. He's pretty athletic, it seems like, for his size. He at least moves pretty well. There's a couple of clips where he tracks down the quarterback and forces fumbles.
Makes an interception, right? There's one where
interception.
Interception return.
Yeah, pick six. He kind of does a little bit of everything, and they got him out of a really good program in New Jersey, and like you said, everybody thought he was going to go to Georgia. A&M was kind of a factor there as well. So pretty big win for Texas. I was reading the Friedman interview, and he said the Arch thing wasn't the big decision, but kind of showed him another reason why to choose Texas. They want to kind of change the program around. But yeah, another huge win. They went out of state for a guy that can come in and, play pretty early in his career, at least as a run stuffer kind of guy at nose tackle. Obviously PK's got a pretty good history at that position. So big pickup there.
Yeah, and you've got to have size like that. I mean, he's going to have to control his weight. We know that. I mean, he's 330, 340. He's got to keep that in check. But he clearly can play at that weight. You don't want to maybe going a lot higher than that. But you've seen teams like Georgia and Alabama have success with these bigger defensive linemen in the SEC. So I think Texas needs to have that kind of player on the roster, maybe even a couple of them. So really nice pickup, like you said, from New Jersey first. He will be the first person in the Rivals.com era, assuming he signs with Texas, to sign with Texas ever. First commitment since Chris Sims. So that's pretty impressive for Bo Davis in Texas to go to a powerhouse program in New Jersey and kind of, put a flag down there. So looking forward, Cole, this week, Jaquez Petaway, the wide receiver from Langham Creek, on social media last week posted that he will be committing this week. We don't know exactly. I don't think he's unless he did it yesterday and I missed it. I don't think he's announced exactly what day this week he's going to announce. It's going to be Texas or Oklahoma, right? We know that. Yeah. Pettaway's a guy who doesn't say a lot. I mean, he doesn't do many interviews even. When I talked to him last, he was really high on Texas, but it seems like Oklahoma just has more buzz there. I talked to an Oklahoma source, and they said, hey, they have not been told anything definitively, but they're just hearing more buzz that kind of lines up with everything they're thinking about Oklahoma being the choice. So I don't have a clear read on that. Listen, we'll keep digging around. If it winds up being Texas, I'm not going to be completely surprised. I'll be honest, this is not one where I have a commitment story written just yet. You know, if I hear otherwise, that maybe it's trending to Texas, we'll get some stuff in the can, so to speak. But it's down to Texas and Oklahoma. Cole, I don't know if you've heard anything different or your thoughts on Pettaway even as a player.
Yeah, I think Texas had some momentum there, you know, in April, coming out of that Rivals camp, going into the summer. But like you said, OU's kind of survived that wave. And Texas picked up some receivers there. They have 3 receivers committed. I think they're probably going to take 4 or 5 there, so spots are limited. Obviously, Pettaway's a guy that you would take regardless. But, yeah, it seems like OU has picked the momentum back up there. He took an official visit to both schools. A really good player, you know, kind of plays all over the offense, plays some defense on high school level as well. Would be a big get for either program, but it seems like Oklahoma has the upper hand going into the week. We'll see if Texas can make a move there, maybe make a last-minute push. But if we had to pin it down today, I would probably say Oklahoma. But, yeah, it's going to be one of those 2 programs. Really good player out at receiver. So.
Yeah, and you said it. Texas says Ryan Niblett committed, Jonah Wilson and Jonte Cook, of course, committed recently. So they're probably going to – I think they're going to get Mikael Harris and Pilot Cole. I keep hearing more and more about Jalen Hale in Texas. Like that one someone told us last week that they thought he was going to commit to Texas pretty soon. I'm not so sure about that. I'm not willing to totally stick my neck out and say, hey, I'm going to put that on record. I'm just saying I've heard that. So I think Texas –
buzz there.
Yeah, I think Texas is really surging with Jalen Hale, the receiver out of Longview. So you kind of piece this thing together and you're like, okay, then probably Pettaway winds up at Oklahoma. But again, hey, man, it's recruiting. It's 17-year-old kids, 18-year-old kids. So his mind might change 5 times between now and when he announces. So we'll see. We had a couple other guys on my list that I want to talk about, guys we've kind of talked to or spoken about fairly recently on Orange Bloods. Braylon Shelby, the kind of edge player out of Friendswood. I talked to Braylon on Thursday, had a quick update in the war room, and then posted a full report on Orange Bloods yesterday morning. 50-50. He tells me it is 50-50 Texas and USC. Loved both his visits. Those are the only 2 official visits he's taken. And even off the record, he goes, man, it's a 50-50 race. So I think he's genuinely torn. He loves the business department in both of those programs. So that's not really a separator. He wants to study business. Obviously, Texas has the McCombs School of Business. USC has a very good business school, he was telling me. I don't know, man. I think ultimately maybe it comes down. I truly think it's about 50-50, Cole. But I do think the closer he gets to a decision, which is going to be late July, maybe in August, he said, those things like staying close to home start mattering a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. So I think it's probably close right now, really close, 50-50-ish. I think Texas maybe creeps up a little bit over the next couple of weeks. I'm predicting Texas, but it's a really close race for Braylon Shelby. And he did say real quick, I'm sorry. He did say, hey, there's some other fringe programs there. Like, I think he called them stragglers is the word he used, like A&M, like Georgia. So, if he takes this thing into August, does he take another visit in late July? It's possible, but I still think ultimately it comes down to Texas and Southern Cal.
Yeah, for sure. And he's a really good player as well. He was a guy, don't know where he was ranked going into the last rankings, if he was outside of 250 or just kind of on the back end. But, he surged into the top 100. There's some talk that possibly pushes for 5-star status by the end of it, just because he has a great frame, can kind of play all over that defense at edge, linebacker. He's a guy that would be an awesome get for Texas for sure. And, like you said, they're in a tight battle with USC, but, they do have the close to home selling point. They have, He was on campus with Arch. I've seen Arch kind of target him on social media, recruit him a little bit. So that definitely can't hurt either. But yeah, really good player, a guy that you want to keep at home, keep in state, especially with that move to the SEC coming up. Those are the kind of guys that can help push you over the top.
And who knew Cole Patterson has dogs, huh?
Yeah.
I'm just glad
the doorbell ring.
Okay, well, I'm glad it's yours and not mine, and mine will
Yeah.
pop up soon enough. Quick dog story, dude. I saw my one dog. He's about 1 year old. He was digging around in my backyard the other day. I'm like, what the hell is he doing out there underneath my tree? I go out
Yeah.
there. There is a baby rabbit. I'm not kidding you, Cole. It's about the size of my index finger. This little baby rabbit, and Mama's nowhere to be found. So and this rabbit's just staying in this nest. So I
Mhm.
can't let my dogs out in the backyard unsupervised because who knows what
Yeah.
they'll do to the poor rabbit. So my wife said, we got to just keep an eye on our dogs. I said, man, that rabbit could live there for like a month or two. How long is this going to
Yeah.
go on? So
You don't know
yeah,
what's gonna happen.
weird segue for my dog/rabbit story in my backyard. So yeah, it's been the talk of our 4th of July weekend. My kids out there hovering over this rabbit, teeny tiny baby rabbit nonstop.
Wow.
So let's get back to recruiting. I don't think people wanted to hear my rabbit story, or they're not here to hear about the rabbit
Right.
story. Yeah, you never know. Hey, got to change things up. Darian Gillette, the linebacker out of Marlin, another guy. We feel really good about Texas's chances, right, Cole?
Yeah.
We heard, maybe late July or even early August, he'll probably decide, maybe he takes a visitor, tries to squeeze in even a couple in that July open period at the end of July. We're in a dead period right now, but not a whole lot to say there. It's just a matter of the timeline on this one, right? We still feel, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I feel like we both still feel really good about Texas's chances. Ever since he took that official visit a couple weeks ago, we felt like that one was pretty much locked in for Texas. Yeah, he might take another visit or two, but we feel like that, or I guess I should say, I feel like that one's more a case of when than it is if. I guess. Do you agree with that, Cole?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I believe I've heard that he's going to take an official to Alabama at the end of July once the dead period's lifted. So obviously, believe he's from Alabama as well. So there's some connections there. But yeah, it would be kind of an upset at this point if he doesn't choose Texas. He had a great visit. They've kind of made him priority. He's had a similar surge in his recruitment, kind of like Braylon Shelby. This is the fact that he's jumped into the Rivals 100. He was a 3-star prior to that update. I keep saying we've seen him at that track meet in Austin because he looked like $1 million there. Looks the part in every way. Really good player. Can play some edge, play some linebacker. But yeah, at this point, it seems like Texas, or I guess not even just seems like it, Texas is in the lead there. And it would be a pretty big shock at this point if it's anything but the Longhorns when he does make that decision.
Yeah, I'm working on my recruiting board. I started it this weekend. I'm going to have it posted on Orange Bloods probably Wednesday night, Thursday morning, maybe. And for those that aren't aware, I kind of handicap. I put all the players that Texas is recruiting, committed and uncommitted. And the uncommitted guys, I ranked Texas's chances, kind of a percentage, So if I say 60%, like I think I had Arch Manning at 60%, okay? That means I think Texas is going to get them, but it's not a lock. There's other schools hovering around there. 80% is about as high as I ever go. I think maybe one or two guys I've gone 90 if they give me like literally commitment quotes.
Yeah.
Darian's going to be tough, man, because I'm probably going to put him at like 75%. I think he's a really, and that's really high for me. I'm pretty conservative on those numbers. If he takes an Alabama visit, that can always throw a wrench into things, but I feel really good about Texas's chances there. So, Cole, I want to wrap this one up. We've got some other obligations. So I want to wrap it up, talk about a couple more guys. Out-of-state defensive linemen. Okay, 2 of them. One is Hunter Osborne, former teammate of Justin Finkley's at, I think it's Hewitt Trussville, I believe is the school, in Alabama. He took his official visit. He did follow it up a couple weeks ago. He did follow it up with a visit to Tennessee. I've talked to a couple people. I need to follow up with Hunter this week is my plan, maybe even later today. But the person I talked to thought it would be Texas or Clemson unless Alabama really pushed for that commitment. Alabama, they like him, but he's kind of on a second tier is what I was told. He didn't take an official visit to Alabama. This person told me, I went back and looked at my text message, and it said, and I could pull it up. I had an extra second if I was more prepared. It said like likes Clemson, likes Alabama, really likes Texas. Almost like there was an emphasis on the way he feels about Texas. Now, this was on Sunday or Monday, I guess, coming out of his official visit. So it's been a couple weeks, but it sounds like Texas is obviously within striking distance there. He's supposed to decide in August, so we need to follow up with him. But they've got him, and then another one, that a guy kind of in your old neck of the woods, Jamarius Brown, out of Mississippi, Cole, a guy I know you've communicated with. So I don't really have much to say on Jamarius. I know you've talked to him. You'll probably keep tabs on that. I'll try to keep tabs on Hunter. But your kind of thoughts on Texas's chances of these two out-of-state defensive linemen? There's so much momentum. It's like, man, guys have to kind of move pretty quickly or they're going to lose their spot. So, anything could happen. Timelines keep getting moved up and things keep happening maybe a little quicker than we're expecting. But your thoughts on maybe those two defensive linemen to wrap us up here?
Yeah, Bo Davis has done a great job with both of them. Just he's obviously has a lot of SEC connections, coached at Alabama. A lot of people in that region really respect him. He's kind of got him in the door for both those guys. Obviously, Justice Finkley helps a ton with Hunter Osborne, just having a familiar face there. But yeah, Clemson's definitely a big competition there. Alabama's still around. But yeah, Texas seems to be, at least coming out of the official visit, they were in a really good spot there. It seemed like he really enjoyed it, just being around Justice and seeing what Austin has to offer. But really a big-time player. He's a top 150 guy.
Another strong like Justice Finkley, Cole, he's strong academically where that really mattered. And that's what really pushed Texas over the top with Justice Finkley. So maybe it could do the same with Hunter Osborne.
For sure. And then Jamarius Brown, he's a guy that actually is from the same area where my dad and his family grew up in Mississippi. So I'm pretty familiar with where he's from. But yeah, we got an update on him. He's planning to unofficially visit Texas at the end of the month. He's another top 150 guy. Kind of a weird recruitment, just in the sense Texas just offered kind of late in the process. He hasn't taken any official visits yet. But we'll have a story on him. I had a little bit of an update over the weekend as well. Or I guess I was on the 4th. Like I said, kind of messes up my schedule. But yeah, we'll have a story on him. From my conversation with him, he's really high on Texas. Another guy that really likes academics. He wants to major in chemical engineering, I believe is what he said. And he put them up there with, Alabama and Ole Miss in his recruitment. He was excited to see what Texas has to offer. He joked that him and his friends thought Arch was going to go to Alabama. So when he went to Texas, that kind of opened his eyes a little bit more as well. But yeah, it's got a really interesting interview with him. But Bo Davis has kept that relationship going until they offered. And if they can pull at least one of these guys, if not both, that would be a huge win as they try to continue to build that defensive line. Both are guys. So I think Texas has a chance at, if they can get Brown on campus in July, kind of secure an official visit, I think that could go a pretty long way in his recruitment.
And you got guys like Colton Vasek. I mean, gosh, where do you have to draw the line? I mean, it's something you got to tell somebody.
Yeah.
No. I don't think they'd tell any of those three guys no, but I mean, it's a different world now. They're not the 25-man cap, but you can't take 50 guys at the same time. You've got to still
exactly
under 85. You mentioned
the D lineman last year too. I mean, it's
exactly. Yeah,
they took a competition there.
Yeah, so it's interesting. But you mentioned that Jamarius, that he mentioned the Arch Manning commitment. I just want to ask you before we go, and this could probably be a topic for a whole separate CruitCast, and maybe we'll dive into it more. But I feel like Arch has had a bigger impact than even I anticipated he would. We always knew he would have an impact wherever he committed, right?
Yeah.
But there was thought he might commit last fall and then early this year. And the later it went on, it felt like, okay, it's probably going to have, the longer it goes, the less impact his commitment's going to have because certain guys are off the board or this, that, or the other. But man, I'll be honest, it's had a much bigger impact, not just on guys like Jonte Cook and Mikel Harrison Pilot, who is on record as saying he's going to pick Texas if Arch picked Texas from Braylon Hale. Those guys make sense, right?
Yeah.
The skill guys on offense. But it's even, having an impact. Braylon Shelby told me that Arch, reached out to him and was hitting him up. So, it's, you've talked about DJ Hicks and his respect for Manning. Personally, Cole, it's had a much bigger impact than I anticipated it would. And I'm not sure that doesn't trickle over into the 2024 class at some point as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. obviously this is my first full recruiting cycle getting to cover Texas. So I've kind of had to lean on you and Catch for historical stuff like that. But it sounds like even to y'all, this hot streak's been probably the biggest and best in recruiting history for Texas. And that just says a lot. I mean, he, like you said, we kind of understood Jonte was going to be linked with Arch one way or another. Before he committed to Louisville, Ruben was kind of in that same group, Ruben Owens. But yeah, just the fact that defensive lineman from Mississippi knows about Arch Manning. Yeah. That's kind of caught his eye. And Sydir Mitchell from New Jersey mentioned that was one of the things he kind of looked at. Arch was recruiting him. In the war room last week, I reached out to a couple of 5-star receivers, one from Texas and one from St. Louis, and both of them said that obviously want to be the determining factor, but they can't lie that has their attention as well. So like you said, it's just, all over the country is kind of, been the big storylines. I remember Alex talking on y'all's modcast how he tried to find some game film on Arch, and it was nothing but, Skip Bayless and Colin Cowherd and all these guys talking about the commitment. So it's been huge, and it's kind of taken the, kind of the sports world by storm. And it seems like it's going to pay off for Texas, like I said, not just in this cycle, but probably even bigger in next year's class, just with the younger classmen looking up and seeing if Arch Manning wants to go to Texas, why shouldn't I consider Texas? So it's been pretty cool to see.
And like everything, that buzz will die down a little bit. But next fall when Arch is on the field and who knows, one of his games it'll fire right back up. Yeah, so just a monumental pickup for Texas on so many different levels. So, Cole, I've got a lot of things to get done this week, including the recruiting board I mentioned earlier. Yeah. I'll actually be on vacation next week, so we'll have to talk about that. I don't know if I can.
We've been looking forward to that.
Yeah, I am looking forward to it, man. I don't know if I'll do a CruitCast from an international. My first international CruitCast. My family and I are leaving the country. Hopefully,
you've done it from Vegas before, so
yeah, I have done it from Vegas. Yeah, but, knock on wood, dude. With these plane flights that are getting canceled, my freaking son. I mentioned it on our modcast. My son tested positive for COVID last week. He finally was able to come out of his room yesterday, and we talked to the doctor, and they're like, as long as he's not running fever, he can travel. He's just got to wear a mask. He's not running fever. So knock on wood, literally knock on wood.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll be taking vacation end of this week into next week. So probably won't be around for the CruitCast unless I'm just get crazy from.
We'll hold it down.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, I've got a lot to do this week. That was my whole point with that. I know you got you have another call to make here in a few minutes. So we're going to put a bow on this one, and we're going to thank our partners at Prime Shrimp. Check them out, primeshrimp.com. I love it. In fact, I've eaten all mine. I need to order some more. It's fantastic. Hit the like button. Yeah, man, it's fantastic. I have zero complaints about it. Hit the like button, subscribe, check out Orange Blood, subscribe there. We'll have updates, including that recruiting board later this week. We appreciate everybody giving us some of your time this week for the CruitCast. For Cole Patterson, I'm Jason Sukamil. Y'all take care.